Hey, this is Michael with digitaltshirtshop.com. So I told you last Sunday, that I had been asked to participate in this My Path, My Plan. It's not path, it's plan program through my church. So my church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. If you go to their website, family, individual, self-help manuals, videos. And then I was going through starting a business, US and Canada. And then I actually did get a manual. I was going to see here if I could actually download the manual and show you a few things that kind of stuck out to me here. So one of the first things that stuck out to me, obviously this is faith-based. If I think that this would work whether you were LDS or not. The principle is that God is working with you as you are um, trying to find success or trying to achieve a goal or whatever it is that you are trying to do. And this is going to go through everything related to starting a business and tie it into religious faith-based principles, which I like. I find a lot of motivation in that. So, and overall, really quick. So there's some introductory things, and then it goes into something. It wants you to work with a group and have somebody that you can lean back on and talk to every week. But uh, originally, so I told you that I was going to do this because my church asked me to. I did not go seek this out. Okay. I've been perfectly fine in going and trying to find things my own way. But as I sat there this evening, so the first week was an introduction to the program and pick what type of focus you want to have. This week was actually the first part of this series and going through it. And honestly, I went into it kind of thinking, yeah. I mean, I was going to do it wholeheartedly, but am I really going to get something out of this? And I actually did. I had two or three things that kind of really popped out to me. And part of it was mostly, I take that back. I could see the real benefits in some of the things it was asking us to do, on top of some of the discussions I had with individuals within the group I thought were actually really good and beneficial to me, and actually made me stop and think for a moment about what I was really doing. So they go through a number of things, but one of the things that I wanted to point out real fast, and you can go through here and download it yourself and read it. But what they're really going to try to do is get you to report. There's gospel principles. They want you to learn. They want you to ponder. They want you to commit. They want you to act. There's a lot of what they're doing. And let's see. The first thing I wanted to point out were these principles right here. Vision, having vision, and then ties it into faith-based, having a faith-based quote, where there is no vision the people perish. Work, be anxiously engaged in a good cause, for the power is in them, wherein they are agents unto themselves. We should do our work. We have the power within us to do that work. Inspiration, cry unto God over our crops of our fields, that they may prosper, that ye may prosper in them. Cry over the flocks of your fields, that they may increase. Now, the Doctrine and Covenants in the Book of Mormon, Alma, Nephi, are all Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants. They're LDS scriptures. Persistence. We will not go until we have accomplished the thing which we were sent here to do. And that's a story within the Book of Mormon. But realizing that you need to be persistent in what you do. Accountability. well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I'll make thee ruler over many things. And the same principle with the parable of the talents. The person who goes and increases their talents is given more. The person who does not increase has them taken away. We are accountable for what we do. Abundance mentality. I think that with God, there is abundance. Oftentimes in uh, the earth and in regular life, there's a scarcity mentality that we're always looking at the uh, with limiting beliefs. Now, those limiting beliefs makes me think about Limitless, that program that I went to that was actually quite good. Limiting beliefs hold us back. Scarcity mentality holds us back, feeling as though because one person's doing it, then that has taken a chunk of the market, and so I can't do it. Really, we need to have an abundance mentality. The earth is full, and there is enough to spare. God will bless us. If we have an abundance mentality, time management, your time is valuable. The power of small and simple things. By small and simple things, great things are brought to pass. And commitment. Which of you sitteth not down first and counteth the cost? We need to make sure we're committed to what we do, and we need to be prepared in that commitment. So these really stuck out to me. I think there's sound business principles, and then obviously with what you have here, that ties in the uh, religious spiritual principles that so things aren't just temporal, they're also spiritual, and there's a tie to spiritual and temporal things that really stuck out to me. And then it kind of goes through, and as we were talking about some of the things here, as we were talking about what we really wanted out of this activity, we had to write down some things. For in this case, we had to write down what was our purpose of wanting to start a business, what impact could it have on our family, what were we wanting fuller part-time, what were we wanting to make out of it. And as I was having a discussion with one of the people related to some of these principles, they gave us the book of it as well. I was thinking about it, and it actually came after another part of this. And I've talked a lot about my whole purpose of starting digitaltshirtshop.com. I started digitaltshirtshop.com uh, on one hand to start a new business and walk through with people what it's like to start a new business, the challenges I face, the problems I have, the successes and failures we have, how long it takes to start making money, how long we're in debt for, and all of those types of things, before we can start drawing money out of the business. And as I sat there tonight and I was listening to this, I was thinking, so for example, sometimes I forget, and sometimes I lose track of my purpose and my direction. And the last week, I've been sitting here thinking, and I've been going, I just don't have anything to say today. I'm not going to make a video. I don't have anything to say. I don't want to just sit down and say the same thing over and over. And as I was thinking about it, and I was going through some of this stuff tonight, I realized there's actually a whole lot I could say, and there are other directions that I can take this business that I'm not currently doing, and I've dabbled on them unsuccessfully. And it all came about as I was sitting there talking to this gentleman tonight about another portion of this, and we had gone through and taken this survey here about, where my strengths and weaknesses lie with this business. And I was sitting there discussing these things with the gentleman, and he said, "Oh, so you are working, your business is your job, or your job is your business is your job." And as I heard that, and I heard those words come out of his mouth, and I've gone to enough seminars, and I've listened to enough people, and I've listened to enough motivational speakers and I've heard enough people talk about business that I realize you can either be smart or you could be dumb about things. And you could either do the work or somebody could do the work for you. Your business could be your job or it could be your business, and other people could run that business for you and it can be their job. And as I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm going, oh my gosh, as I print every t-shirt and I mail every t-shirt, I think about the tediousness of my job, um, which at the moment I don't mind. There are days that it's more difficult than others, and there are days that I want to do it and I don't. But at the moment, I don't mind it. But 10 years from now, am I going to mind it? And as the volume increases, am I going to mind it? As the volume increases, obviously it becomes easier to pay other people to do that job for me, but I'm only able to pay them if I'm willing to relinquish some of the control over what is done. Now, obviously, anybody could be trained to put a T-shirt on a press and or on a digital direct to garment printer and print, and anybody can be taught to weigh it and put it in an envelope and mail it. But at the same time, I believe that there are some people out there who are not willing to do those things. But am I willing to do those things? Now, already I have my mother in law doing some of the work for me. Um, but am I going to get into a position where I'll actually have more people do that work for me so that they're running my business and I'm profiting from managing that business versus actually it being my job and me doing all the aspects of this business. And as I thought about that, I took it even a step further as I thought about it. Why do I need to be the one who actually prints all of my products? This is where that gets difficult. So we had a discussion on pricing when we very, very, very first started this thing, and we talked about t-shirt pricing and all the different variables related to t-shirt pricing. Am I going to be selling it through affiliates, and am I going to be selling it wholesale, and what do I need to sell it for based on the type of garment that I'm printing on in order to make the profit that I want to make off of that item. At the same time, my costs with having a printer, my costs with having to pay somebody to print, my costs with all the packaging, labor, electricity, all the different things that I have associated with that come out of my profits. Um, would I be better off to be paying somebody else to do those aspects of my job and me just capitalize on earning the income related to them? Um, and that's one of the things that kind of clicked in my mind tonight. I've thought about that many, many, many times, and I've been slow to execute on those things. I'm more in a position to think I can upload more stuff for me to print, me to print, me to print, me to print versus someone else print, someone else print. Could I put the time and effort into someone else print it versus me print it? Um, and as I thought about that, I thought, wow, if I could, that's one of the things I think about. I'd like to take a vacation with my family. If all of my stuff is set up and I've got to print it and I've got to mail it, how do I take that family vacation? How do I walk away from it and take that time off? Where if somebody else is actually printing my products for me and servicing my customers for me, and I'm making the same profit off of that, and that's that question, can I make the same profit off of that? If they're doing that for me, why is it not possible that I could potentially do that as opposed to me printing all of these products? Why could it not be? And now I know you can go to YouTube and you can see all sorts of videos about people who do this exact thing. I made, on the flash all the numbers around. I made $10,000 a month and I didn't have to do a thing, and $20,000, and I sold 2,000 T-shirts, and I started my own T-shirt business, and I don't have to do anything. It's just all printed for me. And I've seen all of those things, but how do I set it up and make it successful for me? Um, and I think that's completely possible. I just need to take the steps to actually do that. And I think that maybe one of the directions that I need to take with this company is putting a greater emphasis on that aspect of the business. So I may need to go research what companies are actually providing those services, which companies are easiest to upload these products onto, which companies allow me to maintain consistent margins on those products. Now, I already know Cafe Press is pretty easy to get the products on, but the margins on Cafe Press are horrible, absolutely horrible. Uh, Getting the individual products on Spreadshirt a little more difficult, but the margins I can create my own fixed margins on things, whether it's a fixed dollar or a fixed percentage on things, and I can control what I'm making off of everything that I sell, which is a great benefit. Plus, I can have it printed, things printed on other products that currently I'm not able to. That could be a huge advantage to me. Um, some of the other people that do the printing, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how many images I can give them. I'm not quite sure. I know some of them are set up so that uh, you're selling for a limited time, different things like that, and it really just depends on who the third party printer is and the type of service that they offer. But I'm going to go investigate those things and see if maybe I can change this business slightly and how I do this, because that could be a huge advantage to me. And honestly, when I weigh the pros and cons of a t-shirt printing business, would I rather own the printer and own the supplies and be responsible for all the printing and maintenance and care and operations of this business, or would I rather just manage the bank account and the transactions? You know, and in most cases, the company that prints it will manage the customer service end of the transaction. I would just be adding up the transactions more or less. And that's something that I really need to think about. And I remembered that as I was sitting there talking about this tonight, as part of this my path, for business success that I was doing tonight. So then, kind of the last thing they did is, we kind of went through some things of this, and they kind of reviewed what they're going to do, and then they talked about how you are going to make and keep um, commitments related to this. And they had us partner with somebody, and we have to talk to them multiple times through the week, and we have to work on this daily, and I have to keep a daily notebook related to what I have done in relation to tracking what I'm doing daily, and I'll probably keep a notebook, and I could probably even post a few videos related to what I've done daily related to this. And then I have the charge. So I need to keep a notebook with ideas. This is my business notebook. And I need to keep track of how many days I worked on this and all of that sort of stuff, and then bring it to my meetings. Then the other thing I needed to do is I needed to um, contact make contact is essential. Let's see. So I needed to start extending myself out to people. And then they asked us to do what they called a paperclip challenge. And I was unfamiliar with the paperclip challenge, but as we talked about it, some people there said they've heard about it before, and people have ended up with just unbelievable things. But so apparently, I'm supposed to pick something of minimal value, um, and go around and see if I can trade it for something better. Will somebody actually trade me for something that's of more value? Start by trading your paperclip or small item you selected with someone for an object that has more value. Continue making trades with people in exchange for the object that you then have for something of even greater worth. Make trades with people both inside and outside your family. next week report back on the group on your trading experience and present the object you ultimately earned. And I mean, that right in of itself could be completely fascinating, assuming that you're willing to go and just talk to people. I do talk to quite a few people every day, in my line of business, and I'm out and about periodically, and I talk to quite a few people, and I don't see why it wouldn't be terribly difficult to find people to trade things with and see what I'm able to kind of inch up to getting. Could I start with a paper clip and end up with a candy bar? Could I start with something that cost pennies and end up with something that costs hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars? And as we're sitting there in the group, somebody goes, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that before," and somebody ended up with a car. Well, I don't know that I'm going to end up with a car that I'm going to be doing trades with, but I don't see it as being entirely impossible that somebody could go and trade with people and trade with people and end up with something of significant value. Um, this may be a bit of a challenge for me because in the past I have considered myself not a real salesman and that person that could sell anything to anybody. You talk about that person who can get somebody to buy a ketchup popsicle and with white gloves or something of the sort, and I've never considered myself to be that. I've but at the same time I've always realized that I could potentially do that or be that way if I developed that skill and if I was willing to put forth the effort to do it. Just part of it's terrified me. Um, so we'll see what we do. I haven't picked anything yet, but as soon as I pick it, I'll pick it. But that's kind of what we talked about tonight. And on going in, I had expectations that I would probably benefit from this. And after having sat through just the first meeting, I have a complete expectation. Um, and I do not doubt that Heavenly Father, I believe that we have a Heavenly Father and we're His children, and I believe that He wants to bless us. And I have no doubt that, in this case, this was put here at this time for me to help me as an individual. How, I don't know ultimately, or what the end of it will be, but uh, I think I've come away with that tonight, realizing that, that was, that this, even though it's for everybody, I think that it is for me, and we'll see ultimately what comes from it. So, again, that's starting and growing a business, the My Path program. My Path program tied to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the introductory, My Foundation, My Path. This was the introductory manual that we used the very first meeting. So anyways, for what it's worth, if you are, if you want to follow along with me or you want to go and do it yourself and see if there are things in here that would benefit you, uh, and feel free to make some comments, and I don't mind talking to you about businesses or your business or whatever. I know I don't necessarily know I know I don't necessarily know everything, but oftentimes it's not about knowing everything more than it is, uh, one being able to just talk about it. Another might be talking about it with somebody who has had some experience, um, and even maybe they haven't had experience in exactly what you're going through. There's oftentimes people have experience and inspiration in ways that maybe you didn't expect, that might help you with what you're going through or what you're trying to do, and might be able to mentor you in one way or another related to what you're doing. So, anyways, there's that, and I'll talk about more of it after we do more of it, and let you guys kind of know how that's going. And then I'll also post some videos about what I do to try to make uh, changed the way that I'm doing this business a little bit. And ever since I bought this printer, I've just had that mindset of print it myself, print it myself, print it myself. And I would really love to diversify that to the point where I'm not actually printing everything, or potentially printing anything. Um, that was one more thing that this gentleman I talked to about with this evening, was talking about the work company that he works for, and they hardly do anything in house. They manage their business in house, but all the other aspects of their business are managed through developers, third party developers, people they contract out the work to do all of this work. Um, and that frees up their time and their resources to focus on their business. And it puts the development of these things into people who probably have more of an expertise in doing these things, a specialized expertise. So I think there are a lot of advantages in that. But anyhow, that's enough for today. Again, this is digitaltshirtshop.com. We'd love to have you subscribe in the bottom corner, and follow us as we try to, at the moment, achieve our goal of selling an average of 20 shirts a day. And I'll tell you, right now the numbers are horrible. They've gone from, I mean, we expected them to go down, and they did go down, and then they've dropped again even farther. They've been absolutely awful the last week. So, but we'll kind of see how that keeps going. So we'll probably be eating up some of our profits with some of our losses this next month. But again, that doesn't mean that things aren't going to flip around. It could just be that September is a down month. So follow us and find out how it goes. Thanks for listening.